It is now December 9th at 7:21 a.m. and we are at the beginning of the Permian. By the earliest part of the lower Permian, the climate became dry and arid. It was during this time that the full terrestrial amniotic egg developed. What is the main difference between fish eggs and reptile eggs? Fish lay eggs in water and reptiles lay eggs on land. That is exactly what the amniotic egg enabled creatures to do. Birth their offspring further inland instead of relying on water nurseries like frogs with their tadpoles. This expanded the habitat or available environments for animals capable of producing amniotic eggs. It also allowed for species survival and evolution during this drier climate. As these organisms spent more time on land, they began to develop a keratin barrier in their skin. A keratin barrier is a wax-like layer that keeps moisture in the skin. Once the keratin barrier was fully developed, these organisms did not need to live in or stay close to water anymore. As a result, an organism that looks similar to an amphibian but can lay eggs and live on land evolved. What groups of organisms does this sound like? That's right, the reptiles. The diapsids from this time period are the ancestors of all living reptiles, and they split off into two groups. The archosaurs, which would give rise to crocodiles and dinosaurs, and the lepidosaurs, which would give rise to lizards and snakes. However, the diapsids were not the rulers of this time period. That designation goes to the ancestors of all mammals, the synapsids. During the Permian, these proto-mammals still looked very reptilian. Pelycosaurs were the first wave of these Permian mammal-like reptiles. They had a large sail on their back, enabling them to warm and cool their bodies quickly. Pelycosaurs, like Dimetrodon, who is pictured in the upper left-hand corner of the Permian section, were the fiercest carnivores the world had seen to date. But another group of carnivorous synapsids were coming on the scene, who wiped out the pelycosaurs. These therapsids were more mammal-like, having faster metabolism, and they were able to chew and breathe at the same time, so it could more efficiently chop up its food, enabling expedited digestion. In general, reptiles swallow their food whole, many thanks to these therapsid cousins who made it possible to chew and enjoy the many flavors of the food we consume. The end of the Permian marked the worst extinction event in our planet's history, the Great Dying, where 90% of all marine species and 70% of all land animals were eliminated. The Permian extinction basically set the evolutionary clock back 300 million years, or back to the Cambrian. The Permian extinction also wiped out 4 out of every 5 species of tetrapods. In fact, every tetrapod to have lived since, including you, can be traced back to these few survivors. The synapsids bounced back more quickly than did the reptiles and other tetrapods. Had they gone completely extinct, we would not be here today. That was a close call.